Welcome to the Approach podcast. I'm Cassidy Gates, founder of The Approach and creator of the Soma and Semantics practice. This is a place where curiosity comes first. Together, we explore the science of behavior, communication, somatic practices, consciousness, leadership, and the patterns that shape how we think, speak, and live. Each conversation is an invitation to look through a different lens, not to tell you what to believe, but to give you ideas worth examining. At The Approach, we believe the body primes, words cast, actions create. Whether you're here to challenge your perspective, deepen your understanding, or simply become more intentional in how you move through life, we thank you for listening. Now let's begin today's conversation. Welcome to the Approach podcast. I have two guests with me today. I have Dr. Noushin Hart, and I also have April Pierce. So Dr. Noushin Hart, they both come from a background in the medical field. Dr. Noushin Hart, she is an oncologist. She also does integrative medicine, cancer consultation, and transformational healing. And I do believe one of the topics we were going to discuss is on energy, so body, mind, and energy healing. And then I thought of my friend April, who also is a registered nurse. She's doing a lot of frequency and energy healing. I was trying to think. I know the crystal mat was one of them, and infrared therapy. There was also another one I was really interested in, that the vibroacoustic massage.
So I pretty much went into all harmonics. So I use vibration, frequency, light, all of those things I just look at it like an expanded toolbox. Like, why just come to, if you're a builder, why just bring a hammer to work? I want to have a hammer, a screwdriver, a sledgehammer, electric mentor. Like, there's not one way to approach any situation. Why would you be in the medical field and not want to have an expanded toolbox? And that's kind of how I look at it in the nursing field. I take my medical knowledge to look at the body as a physical, but then there's this emotional level, there's this electrical level, and they all have to work together. You can be in perfect health and really literally die of a broken heart if you're so emotionally broken. So I just have kind of stepped back and realized that the body has to be looked at in layers, and they all have to work and flow together. And so using this EMF, mats, crystal healing mats, vibroacoustic sound baths, essential oils, color therapy, all of those things can be utilized and used to help heal someone. And why go with just one route? So that's kind of what I've done with my business.
I think that's why we're all getting closer back to the holistic medicine, because you can't treat one thing without it treating the other. We had a unique conversation on when you were talking about the MRIs, energies and frequencies. Would you mind sharing that?
Yes, I think the only reason people think energy healing might be woo-woo is the language. I didn't realize I have been an energy healer as a radiation oncologist forever.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it, when I was being trained to become a radiation oncologist, all they were teaching me is that these are the energy types that you'll be using. You'll be using photon, you'll be using electrons, you'll be using protons. What are they? They're all energy, right? So for 26 years, I have been an energy healer. But that is not what they called me. They called me a radiation oncologist. And all of a sudden, I'm using modalities such as Kundalini activation process, and I'm using Make Anything Possible or MAP, and all of a sudden I'm an energy healer. I have been an energy healer. There are so many energy modalities like MRI. How is it that a huge magnet called MRI is showing the anatomy of my body? If I was not made of energy, that was not possible. How is it that we destroy kidney stone by ultrasound without surgery? It's energy. So energy healing is a part of Western medicine. We just don't call it energy healing, but it is energy healing.
And just like you were saying, you didn't want to say certain wording or language. That's what I try to avoid now, is because you say one word like Kundalini or what do you call it? Healing energies. People's limited beliefs kick in like that, and they're like, that's a bunch of woo woo.
You know,
When
you
in all reality,
uh-huh.
it's complete. I mean, there's entire science behind it.
As a physician, you can lose your license if you claim energy healing. But in reality, I have been an energy healer as a radiation oncologist. So it's all about language, it's about misperceptions, it's about misunderstandings. So if we can understand that energy healing is scientific, as radiation therapy has been scientific, as MRI is scientific, as ultrasound is scientific, as red light therapy is scientific. How is it that you go get red light therapy and inflammation in your body is gone? So it's all about language. We need to be able to communicate and not be so judgmental about what we are offering.
Yeah. I try to, when I teach my clients about frequencies, the easiest thing I've found to do is to make them understand what it is. And I'll say, your body's constantly talking to itself. It's either releasing hormones that's going to cause your body to, release this hormone, or it's sending electrical impulses. It's constantly sending your body, your brain, and your organs messages. And so I try to teach them that when they, get frequency stickers from me, or I make them a frequency bracelet, that it's just sending your body text messages. It's just sending that body a message to do something. And then when I try to explain how the Rife works, which you can do, killing or healing with that, and I'll always go back to the opera singer. And I'm like, everything has a destruction point. And so when the opera singer sings that frequency and that musical note, the glass shatters its integrity. You can do that with, candida. You can do that with staph. You can do that with anything. Everything has a breaking point. And so that's kind of the two ways that I try to change the language to where it's not scary or not confusing, because those two things that people can relate to. And I talk about the biofield of the body, kind of like a cell phone getting cell service. You have this area that your body communicates with, and outside of that 4 or 5 feet, you lose service. But anything above you, and below you, you've got this network that your body runs off of. And so I try to use things like that people can connect with and easily understand without going, because we are just programmed. If it's something we don't understand, then we don't go there. So I mean, I've really felt like with my business, being able to communicate what I do and how it works in kind of layman's terms has really made a big difference to people understanding exactly what it is.
So sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Just as our computers and our cell phones are receiving messages like through Wi-Fi or internet, our bodies are receivers. And we are constantly receiving messages. There's actually this suggestion that our brains are just a receiver. We are receiving information. It's not that brain is creating information. It's just like an antenna that is receiving information. So we two human beings standing next to each other, we are receiving information even without talking. You go to a location, geographical location, you're receiving information from that location even without anything. So it's just like you said, it's the location, the environment. As much as our cell phones and our computers are receiving information from cell towers and internet, we are constantly bombarded by electromagnetic field. Our cells are receiving that information. We are bombarded. To ignore that is ignorant, because the entire system is affected by electromagnetic field. And if we ignore that our body is being inflamed, literally our DNA, our cellular structures are being distracted and injured by 24/7 electromagnetic field. That is why there's so many chronic illnesses that Western medicine can't address, because we are ignoring this very significant factor that we are receivers.
And see, with the receivers part, so receivers and the, did you call it a biofield? I use like the Taurus field, same thing. Same thing, different words. So when you are around people or other things and it's putting off that negative energy, it does begin to drain you. It's kind of like osmosis. You kind of like start meeting in the middle and meeting at the same level. So you're actually helping them a little bit, but they're pulling that down. And I know you told me before your services that you have to go and calm and regenerate, heal before you go in there, to go in there prepared, because you feed off each other. They call in healthcare, we call it culture. You feed off the culture where you go. That's difficult when you around all those people and everybody sinks in, and it just, I don't know, it can depend on one person that sets the mood for the day. But it's there. It's just we use different words. We use culture. We use, somebody starts off a negative day with negative phrases. It's been there since the day and time, and we just, different language.
I didn't realize that when I was working on my spirituality and trying to like raise my vibrations, I didn't realize that the people that you live with in the house, like you said, osmosis was a really good example. If let's say I raise mine, well, let's say my husband comes in and he's had a really crappy day. Well, I might elevate him, but it pulls me back down. It's constantly doing this leveling. And I didn't really realize that. I had already had that thought about my customers and my clients and being around patients, but it really had not hit me that the person you're laying by in the bed and the person that you're living with, you all affect each other. And so you can do some protection there, but you kind of have to. That's where the whole saying of watch what company you keep and stuff. Your energy and your vibration and your biosphere works with other people that you're close to. So yeah, you kind of have to go into that protection and do spiritual hygiene and make sure that you are keeping yourself as pure as possible, because it bleeds over.
It does.
There is a famous and popular video on YouTube where there is multiple metronomes in a space, and one metronome is having this, rhythm, and the other ones are like out of rhythm. And you give it a couple of minutes, and then they all start going the same rhythm. You go into a store that sell musical instrument. You start playing one, every other instrument start going the same frequency, the same notes. We are exactly that. We are exactly that. You enter a group of people, whatever the dominant vibration is, whether you like it or not, you start going just like that metronome. That is why when you enter a space, whether it's just a location or the people, you either feel good or you don't feel good because your vibration changes. That is why we have to be so aware of choosing the location we enter, the people we hang out with, because it's not about what we talk about, it's not about what we do, it's just being in the proximity of each other that changes our vibration.
Well, I think every woman is also aware that, you know, if you go live with another roommate, you know, your periods will start sneaking. Like,
Yes, exactly.
those, you know, oddities that we accept, but we simply just kind of look that it's not just about that; it's about other things that start to mimic and synchronize as well.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
that goes back to the picture of the holistic care. Like, we accept that, we know that, but we're not accepting these other things. We're focused on one thing, and that's it. That's all we're trying to fix. It's just one thing. When everything plays off each other.
Yeah, I tell people like colors in nature. That's just visual frequencies, and then the music notes is auditory frequencies. And there's one system I use that's called a inner voice, where it like records your voice and it compares the notes that you're dominant in your voice and will tell you what you struggle with emotionally, and then give you the color to help balance that out, along with the music to listen to help balance out those dominant notes in your voice. It's very scientifically interesting. But I like to use that as the emotional key of like doing some type of scan and treatment, and along with the other things that I do.
But even that depends on the receiver.
Yes.
There are people who hear, they look at the color and they hear. And there are people who listen to music and they see colors.
Yeah.
So it all depends on the receiver. So all of our cells are hearing, seeing, vibrating with whatever that stimulus is. It's just our ears that are hearing and our eyes are seeing. But at cellular level, no matter what that stimulus is, it could be color, it could be sound, it could be whatever, our cells are vibrating at multiple levels with that.
Yes.
So it's just so very important what we expose our bodies to. And again, I go back to electromagnetic field. Is just the exposure is so profound and so constant. Is a 24/7 that if we are not careful about it, the damage could be really, really permanent and profound.
And it's like, I think the distortions that we get in our body definitely comes from the distortions we expose ourselves to.
Yes. And you might have heard or be familiar with BioWell scan. BioWell is literally just a camera that scans the 10 fingertips. And it has accessories for water, has accessories, Sputnik for the space. You literally can objectively measure the energy of the space, the coherence of the space. People know about low or high energy. It's not about high or low. It's about coherence. You can have a lot of incoherent energy, which is really bad. You want the energy to be coherent. So when you do scan of 10 fingers, it shows a few things that are important. One, it shows how dynamic our bodies are. It's just MRI, you do MRI now, and an hour later, both of them are the same because they're just showing you anatomy. You do BioWell now, and 30 minutes later, they are not the same because we're constantly changing depending what is in our environment. And it gives so much information not only about how much energy each organ is spending, but how much reserve energy we have. What is the state of our chakras? What is our meridians are doing? And then you can literally objectively measure the modalities you're using. If you're using sound healing or meditation or whatever it is, how did it affect all of those? But what really is important with BioWell, it shows what happens in 6 months to 12 months from now if you don't do anything about your energetic body. So it could be a preventive, a very, very fascinating and precious preventive measure, because as opposed to MRI and CT scan that shows, okay, oopsie, this has happened now, and now we have to do something about it. BioWell shows you the pathway of preventing what can happen in future.
Exactly. I use a pendulum to check my client's energy, and it's always something that it never gets old for me to assess the energy flow and to be able to just do that, and I can kind of get a good insight of what that patient is struggling with, and it all ties into emotions and whether they're confident, whether they don't feel safe, whether they don't speak the truth. It's just so very interesting how doing those assessments and just having that person, I tell them it's like a fuse box in your house. And once you don't feel safe, that breaker blows. And me as a nurse looking at that person, it's so interesting how disease and stuff can happen when there's no energy flow through that body. And then all of a sudden, this pendulum is like, hip bone to hip bone swaying. And people are walking around, and I'll tell them it's like walking around with a dollar store battery versus being hooked up to the mainframe. Like you're not getting the energy circulation through your body to do what it needs to do. And that's one of my favorite things to do is check their chakras and have them visually watch the pendulum go from just shaking and then fully spinning. And it's really interesting when you get to the heart chakra and you have someone that is really good at giving love and like taking care of others, but they really stink at taking care of themselves. The pendulum will just go back and forth. It doesn't have the swirling energy. Mm-hmm. And then I'll talk to them about it, and you'll watch that pendulum start changing and start swaying again. And it's just very fulfilling to be a nurse and you want to help people, but it's also been so very fulfilling for me to expand my toolbox and to be able to show people with their own eyes their energy. Just like the scan you're talking about, it's great to know things, but it's great to be able to measure those and see them somehow, some way. And it just never gets old to watch someone be able to take control of their own energy field.
And when going back to BioWell, another fascinating thing that to me, what is important is showing it to the client. They can see it objectively. That when you fix that blockage in one center, how it affects every other center. As opposed to Western medicine, that's, the problem is with your eyes. Now we're going to talk about eyes and we're going to fix eyes, as if eyes have no relationship with any other organ in your body. But none of these are separate from each other. And you fix one or one is not fixed, it affects everything. And you see that with BioWell, you work on one chakra, all of a sudden your entire scan changes. Because we're just one unit, and separating organs from each other and separating mind, body, and the spirit from each other is just fake. It's just a myth. We are just one unit.
Yeah, and I've noticed that if I ever find that client that's got that root chakra, the very first one blocked, then it's like 9 out of 10 times every one of them's blocked. And so that's been interesting as well. But yeah, I just can't understand as a medical person wanting to help people why you would want to limit yourself with just this knowledge. But for me at this time, I may not agree with everything I learned, or I may not like it, but I want to know about it. I always joke around about, like, I might find out that you can lick a frog and, cure acne. I might not do it, but I wanna check it out. I wanna see. And I can't understand why anyone else that's making a living and chose to go down the path of helping people wants to be so blinded into just one way.
But,
And
when did we learn the rules on what can be spoken and what not?
yes, and
You get what
it,
I'm saying? Like, there's things that we know we cannot say, but where did that stem from?
I know.
There's a positive side and there's a negative side. The positive side, obviously, is that as a physician or a nurse, any health professional, when you want to talk about something, you want to make sure that you know what you're talking about, right? And the language of science always has been data. We need research. We want a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 trial and prove that this is safe, number one, that is comparable to what we have been doing. And phase 3 shows that this is better than what we have been doing. And that's how medicine has advanced for centuries. So that is the positive, that we want to be safe. However, the negative side of it is that it has become really defensive, meaning that our attorneys decide what we can talk about and what we cannot talk about. And I think the other issue is that often there's this term of alternative medicine, that we're questioning everything standard in medicine. Oh, don't do this and just instead do this. But I talk about complementary. I say, yeah, let's do standard of care, but why not talk about treating childhood trauma? Why not talk about Reiki? Why not talk about energy healing? But as a physician, I would tell you that if I didn't fail Western medicine when I was dealing with my own traumas and treatment-resistant depression, probably I would have stayed in that box, because that's how I was trained in medical school. And only when I failed and I didn't have Western medicine couldn't resolve my issue, I came out, I'm like, oh my God, there's a whole other world outside, and which completely opened my mind, and I'm glad that happened.
During this brief break, this is Cassidy Gates with the Approach Podcast. I just wanted to share one of my new services, the Approach Podcast Creator Packages. I'm here to help creators launch, streamline, and grow their podcasts through strategy, automation, branding, websites, guest management, social media, and ongoing support, building the system so you can focus on your voice. The second service I offer, the practice, soma and semantics. If you are wanting to get more in tune with your body and understand what it's trying to tell you, or if you want to understand how the words you speak shape your life and everyone else's around you, I invite you. Look through the links below. Schedule a chat with me. Reach out. I am here to facilitate you through the process of infinite refinement. Now, I welcome you back to the approach.
The world outside, and which completely opened my mind, and I'm glad that happened.
I was kind of like, I don't go into this trying to convince anyone of anything, and I respect everyone's journey and their decision. So it's not about that. It's just that I want everyone to know all of their choices, and like, you do your research, what feels right with you and what you want to experience. And as a nurse, it really made me mad when I discovered all of these other modalities that are not talked about. And your patients are not fully educated on what their choices are. Because at the end of the day, it is the patient's choice. So that's kind of how I got into it. Was at first I was angry that I'd been a nurse for 27 years and I didn't know about half of these things. Um, and I had several patients over the years that could have benefited from trying different things that they wasn't even aware were available. So that's kind of what my feel like my place is. It's not to convince or try to say this is the one and only thing because it's not. I just choose to go with the tools in the toolbox, and I tell people what's available and what I can help them with or help them find. And I just want to educate people and empower them to know that there's more. There's more out there, and for them to do their own research. So
The tragic part is that not talking about this has not stopped patients from spending billions of dollars on alternative medicine without their doctor's knowledge.
sure.
And often they spend money on things that is not safe. So to open up and allow patients don't talk about it with their doctor because they're afraid of talking about it. But if you open and say, yeah, you can talk about it with me, if you ask them what are you taking, what medications are you, they give you 2 prescriptions, they don't give you name of 40 things, supplements they're taking, because they're afraid of sharing that with you. But if you're open-minded, so that's okay, I'm not going to judge you, I'm not going to blame you, tell me what you're taking. You can have that open discussion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I myself feel like I couldn't. I know when I told my doctor I was doing Reiki, he was like, "What is that? How do you spell that?" Like he had no clue. He didn't say anything. But it just surprises me how many people. You go to school to be a doctor and help people, and like you said, you're taught this. You're not taught everything that you can use. And to me, that's like going to a car dealership and get your car fixed, and the only thing they can do is change your tires. Um, I'm at the age now where it's like, why would you not, if that's your profession, why would you not want to know of all the things you can do to help somebody? Not that you agree with all of them or you even suggest they should do it, but I don't know. I'm just at that point where I just want to know. I'm really interested in like learning the old herbalism, but then embracing the futuristic tech. And I just don't want to put myself in a box where I'm not able to learn something that could be life changing for someone, even myself.
Interesting fact that Dr. Noushin Hart shared with me about turmeric.
Right.
And they were attempting to
MD Anderson Cancer Center. MD Anderson Cancer Center. They wanted to put a patent on
turmeric. Turmeric.
It's all about money. They wanted to put a patent on turmeric because after gazillion years of everybody knowing, not everybody, but natives and Indians, so everybody was using spice knowing that this is really good for you. They discovered that it's anti-inflammation and it prevents cancer, and they wanted to put a patent on it. So you and I, every time we wanted to buy turmeric, we had to pay MD Anderson some money, because now they had discovered that this had so money plays a significant role. But going back to why they don't want to be open to everything, the truth of the matter is that even though there's some good reasons behind it, but our current Western medicine model, when you go to a specialist, they're not even open the other parts of body, let aside opening to other modalities.
That's true.
If it's ENT, they don't want to know anything about other parts of your body. They're not interested. If you talk about your GI, it's like, go see a gastroenterologist. I don't want to hear about it. I don't have time for that. So they're literally just seeing parts of you. and all they see is a nose, all they see is an eye. They don't see the whole body, let aside getting out of Western medicine.
Yeah. And then they don't talk to each other. So I would see the heart doctor with DC medicines that was affecting the heart, and then the kidney doctor would put them back on, and then DC medicines that were affecting the kidney. It's like
That was always the biggest argument between those two. Like, no matter where you were.
covering their own organ, but then the poor patient would go back to the other doctor and then have their medicines completely changed. And then at the next doctor's appointment, they would do the same. It was back and forth. So yeah, you're right. That's a huge thing that us nurses, scratch our heads about all the time is that the specialists don't seem to really communicate with each other.
And then you sit down with those patients and they're like, I don't know anything about all these 20 medicines I'm supposed to be taking. Now they've changed this and this and this, and I can't keep up. Then they're going to go see another doctor who's going to probably add more, take away. They don't know what's going. There's tons and tons of medicines, and they don't realize if they're taking a medicine that you're taking because this medicine's causing a side effect, and maybe there's an alternative medicine you could take. There's not. There's not enough sitting down on their level.
Yeah.
I have seen patients literally with 50 medications.
Come in with a suit.
It's just unbelievable. And they think pharmacist is checking on those. Pharmacist is not checking either.
Yeah. And like you said, they don't even tell you all of the things that you're taking because they feel.
Yes, and they're taking another 50 supplements on top of that. It's just unbelievable. Yes.
Lack of education and but and see, I wonder, they have difficulty explaining that, but they have so many policies, so many listed out symptoms, so many things that I feel like bringing in alternative stuff, they're terrified of. Because there's data, but it's not to what they want, and they can't regulate it as much. They can't put all these policies on it, and that's, I don't know if they see it as a liability or what the holdup is, but there needs to be something where it's integrated at this point in life. Like everything is a tool to use.
I think it's partly what she mentioned also that you can't charge for grounding, you can't charge for. So that component as well. Just teaching you how to imprint your water. I mean, that's a whole other discussion. There's so many things that you can do that are free.
Yeah.
I mean, when you get to a regulated state, I mean, your inflammation drops and everything. So,
physicians don't get an hour of education about nutrition in medical school, not an hour of education. And perhaps the only physicians who may talk about food with their patient is like endocrinologists if their patient has diabetes or if it's weight management. Nobody else talks about food. Yeah. And I'm sad to say that doctors have the worst diets themselves. Look at hospitals, the Burger King and this and that in hospital, and the food they serve to the patient at the hospital. And if you put everything else aside, just no other modality, just the nutrition itself. If they teach doctor nutrition, and they say, okay, the first thing I want you to do with the patient, just ask them what they're eating and teach them how to eat healthy. That is going to change healthcare. That by itself.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, and we have vending machines on each floor, but it's not just a vending machine. It's like a store you go into and you can like pick up all these little things, beef jerkies, Vienna sausages, all those things just right there. You swap and go.
Yeah.
We're there for healthcare, and the entire thing promotes easy access to everything else.
Yeah. And the energy in the hospital, gosh, I mean, the whole energy. One of the things that we physicians don't realize, because we have not been taught energy, is when you as a physician or a nurse enter the room of a patient, how your energy is going to affect the energy of that poor patient. And you're stressed out and you're working crazy. You're seeing a patient every 15 minutes. You're stressed out, you haven't slept enough, you're just tired. And then multiply that by 500 physicians and 1,000 nurses in the hospital. You can just measure the energy of that hospital. That's the best recipe to get sick, not to get better.
Yes. What is it? I walk into rooms. I literally have to. I've learned to make myself walk slow. Like if I'm pushing around a computer or anything else, I try not to speed walk anymore, because that is my first. Let's get on the ball. Go, 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 go. So I pace myself when I'm going to rooms and everything now. So I try not to let them feed off that, and that's a big thing. I finally learned they feed off you. So if you go in there that way, you just set the tone for the day.
Yeah.
But I've had many patients, I go in there, and they do teach us to do this. You go in there, introduce yourself. I try to usually kind of come up with relatable ground, and your day goes better on top of their day goes better. And if time allows, I do like to go in there and try to, what I can use from notes, try to explain to them the process, what it's going to look like. If you do those little things,
yes,
their stress level goes down. And that's why it should be more important, because the stress level is just adding to it.
Yes.
We're getting them stressed out, heart rate goes up, cortisol starts releasing. We are making them sicker by stressing them out. I don't know why we cannot get this more incorporated in healthcare.
Yeah, because it all goes back to that financial part with, what is it? They pay a certain amount depending on what they're diagnosed with, and so the hospital figures out we need them out the door in 2.5 days, or we're going to go in the hole. Yeah.
But then, oh no, I gotta quit.
Your time as a nurse and physician time is money for the hospital.
Yeah.
So when my family practitioner from 7:30 until 5 p.m. has to see a patient every 15 minutes, she doesn't have time for me. She doesn't look at me. She doesn't examine me. The entire 15 minutes that she's looking at her computer as I'm talking, she's typing. So there's no eye contact. There's no touch. And I'm a physician. I know I'm getting special treatment, okay? That's my special treatment. And then I feel completely unheard, unseen, ignored. I come out not trusting, which is the most important thing. I don't trust that she hurt me. Yeah. And because of that, I doubt everything that they recommend. I question everything that I recommend. And I have the knowledge of a physician. I question everything. Now, I always say I have no idea what an average person who has not been to medical school and residency, how they manage their care.
I get plenty of questions that
and then
I do know, but let me argue why it could benefit them if they would just look at it correctly, even financially.
Yeah.
You are saving time when you do that. It doesn't feel like it at first. It would be a huge transition, but you're saving time by actually spending the time with that patient, educating them. Their level goes down of stress, so it's easier for them to get better. They're less likely to make a medication error, and they're less likely to cause issues by not feeling heard, cause issues by calling care line. They didn't take their time. But if you did, we'd have stopped that. On top of, are we not getting supposedly paid by insurance and satisfaction rates. So if we hit all these modalities and add in some of these, I want to say it's more mental health related, just how we speak to people. Those things come up.
Yeah.
But everybody sees the negative side. And I think that's a part of healthcare. Everybody sees the negative side.
Yeah.
Why don't we just attempt it and then see how well it improves?
Well,
But the other big hurdle is, how do you affect the entire culture?
then even they send, we'll send you to your home, but you're going to have home health. And then when I worked home health, you're told you got to see 7 patients in an 8-hour day.
No telling how far apart they are.
Yeah, and I'm literally like, trying to just get out the door as soon as you get there, because you've got the 6 other people. And so you're not getting, even with home health, you're not getting that time with a nurse one-on-one. That's the whole reason for the program, to be able to follow up when that patient gets home and make sure they're taking their medicines right and have a conversation, because you are also charting in your tablet the whole time you're sitting on the couch.
And patient compliance has been always a problem, right? And when there's no trust, there's no compliance.
Mm-mm.
Like, I, as a physician myself, when they send me to recently they wanted me to do a consultation with a specialist. I saw 3 of the same specialists, because I didn't trust the first, I didn't trust the second one. It's like, so that is waste of health time, right? That's the waste of money for insurance. That's the waste of time for that hospital, because I'm seeing 3 people, right? But if the first one paid attention, examined me, gained my trust, I wouldn't have wasted time and money, my money, insurance money, everybody's time to see 2 more. Why did I see 2 more? Because I didn't trust the first one. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who is doing that.
Yeah.
Here's an even more terrifying fact, is the people that don't have the option, that can barely go see the first one.
Mm-hmm.
That's their choice, because their option's not there. Like, they're probably just wondering how in the world they're even going to get treated. How in the world they're going to afford not lose their house and things by having to miss work. And then you go to a doctor that makes you not feel safe, a staff that makes you not feel safe or heard, and you're still having to go through that with fear.
And then with
all that with fear.
No insurance covers, alternative service. So then, you've got that issue of somebody struggling financially, which I try to keep my visits low, because I want to help people. But then you're also those people that want to branch out into alternative health. No insurance will help out with that visit. They don't look at it as so it's just a huge mess right now, that I'm hoping the more conversations like we're having with other people finally gets to a point where people demand and want change.
The system has to change. I'm a physician, and I'm not throwing my colleagues under the bus at all. I have a very significant family history for breast cancer, so I have to see a breast surgeon every year. For the past 3 years, every year that I go, there's a new breast surgeon. They cannot keep the breast surgeon, so they hire one, they quit. Next time I go, there's a new one. So there is no consistency of care, because every time I go, I see new ones. So physicians are unhappy, patients are unhappy. The only people who are happy are the hospitals and pharmaceutical companies who are making money. But it's not gonna last like this, because many physicians are coming out of the box. They're talking about it. Patients are getting more informed. So hopefully that results in complete collapse of the system and change of the system.
And what that takes is people talking about it. One of my things was when I started, I told you about my experience when I was trying not to use Kundalini, unintentional waking. But when I started letting my emotions and feeling them again and not shutting it down, that was my question. Well, what can I do about it?
Mhm.
So I did everything I was told to do, and it don't feel like enough for me. And then I met April and done a podcast with her, and I was like, oh, I really like this. And this is my biggest fear, FYI. Not as much anymore, but that was the whole point of this is what can I do about it? I can talk about it. And I have plenty to say about it within my limits of what I can speak about. But educate yourself, look outside the box. Don't take other people's words for it.
Yeah.
Don't hold other people's limited beliefs, and don't live a reality that's projected onto you by others.
Yes.
Look it up for yourself.
And look at humanity. I think everyone brings up these things. Like you can look at pictures of Americans on the beach in 1950, and everyone looks pretty good, you know?
Yes.
And we have all this going on then. No, not really. I mean, herbalism and alternative care has been the staple of our great great grandparents and like all these civilizations until now. And so it's not woo woo and it's not made up. Like you said, there's scientific backing to everything. It's just lost knowledge, is how I look at it. And that's why it's not that I just want to do futuristic tech and like all I want to do is frequencies and rife. No, I see the importance of all of it and, you know, using herbs and learning how to make your own stuff. Okay, for example, when I learned what was in, you know, laundry detergent and how it affects the body and you're wearing these chemicals, that should bother everybody. And so right now I'm trying to like find a couple of companies that I want to put in my shop to where people can easily, you know, get natural, clean products to wash their hair with, wash their face with, wash their clothes with, because I didn't even realize the chemicals that were being absorbed into our bodies. And deodorant, you know, it goes, where do you take a temperature, you know, under the armpit? You're putting this chemical straight into your blood system. And yeah, I mean, it's like she said, I just want to educate people. And at the end of the day, if you're okay with that and that's the way you want to live, that's completely fine. But I wanted those people that are not okay with it to realize that it's going on and then make that decision for themselves.
Everything, including the water we drink, the air we breathe, the food we eat, electromagnetic field. If we, and that's, believe me, that's a full-time job, literally. Take care of those, to find clean, healthy water, good filter, find good, healthy, organic food. That's a full-time job. But if you do that, I would say at least 50% of your problems are already resolved.
Agreed.
And going off that, one of the last episodes that I've discussed with somebody, Felicia Linsky, she uses a phrase, the body whispers before it screams.
Oh, absolutely.
So we bypass so much. We notice the inflammation starting, headaches, cramps. But what do? We take some Tylenol, ibuprofen, push through it, and keep going till eventually your body's going to finally scream.
Yes, that's very true. That's very true.
It's totally changed my viewpoint on life, and like I said, it's easily, if I could help, like you said, take care of 20% of someone's health problems because they changed their laundry detergent.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about $20 worth. It's usually about $5 more, sometimes less. I mean, wow, you know, that's a huge thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, ladies, it's been great talking to you. This has been an episode by The Approach. April also has frequency hour.
Frequency hour, yeah, because I think that Dr. Hart can appreciate this because since everything is frequency, I can talk about anything I want.
Yeah,
I was
but
prompted to.
sorry, go ahead. Some of the services y'all offer, go ahead and mention a few of those because I am going to add y'all's information in links below whenever I do start promoting.
Well, I have a website, shoalshealingfrequencies.com, and I have made my own handcrafted teas to help with not only are they chakra and frequency imprinted for the chakras. So I have those 7 teas. I also have teas for inflammation to help you sleep, to help with one called Safe and Calm for those women and men who just constantly are on fight or flight and they just can't turn that off and relax. And then I have one called Still Water that's also a nervous system. It's got lemon balm as the main ingredient. Because I want people, I don't sit here and drink hot teas all day long, but I want people to learn that it's medicine. And if you're having a rough day, you can get a hot cup of tea and you can treat yourself that way. So I have that line on there on my website, but what we do here is red light therapy. I have nothing but sound beds in my building, so you can come and get a massage on a sound bed. And we run the frequencies that client I feel like needs, like 174 would be for pain. While they're getting the massage, we do therapy to match things. We do projectors, so if you wanted to have a massage or a treatment while you're looking on the wall and you're in the woods with a waterfall, it's all about carrying it to the next level. And why not? Why not indulge your senses? I also do a head spa treatment that I call Still Water, which I use the water and the frequencies. I imprint frequencies into the water, and you're laying on a crystal bed with the PEMF, and I have a scalar energy system built into the building. So anytime you're in the building, you're receiving scalar energy. Well, that's just a few things that we've started doing, but it's all about giving someone that moment to have that self-care, learn, and I talk and learn about, teach people how to do things for themselves and incorporate those self-care things at home.
Absolutely, because it's facilitating them to learn how to bring it into their life.
Yeah, empowering them to know that, if you're feeling you're having a really bad day, take your shoes off, go outside, get you a cup of tea, do some breath work, use an essential oil. They're just tools, they're just tools.
Dr. Noushin?
So if anybody is interested in my oncology knowledge, I have a website called Heart to Heart Cancer Consultants, and I have another website called Healing by Heart, which is about my energy work. Just take a look. You can make a 15-minute free consultation with me through my website or email me, however you prefer to contact me. I'll be more than happy to guide.
And I will provide that information below. Sorry.
Yeah, I want to say as a nurse, Dr. Hart, that I appreciate your work and your passion for bringing something in your patient.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate both of you. We cannot do anything without nurses.
And it's really great that we're able to collaborate
Come together. Exactly.
All coming from the medical field.
Yes.
So I truly hope to have both y'all back on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you. Nice meeting you.
Thank y'all for reaching out.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Approach podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode. Be sure you don't miss what's coming next. We're just getting this practice started. Check out the links below to visit theapproach.net. Connect with today's guest, explore their content, discover more episodes and resources, support the podcast, or learn how to become a guest or collaborate. Until next time, thanks for being a part of The Approach.